Everyone, it is an honor to be able to speak in front of you tonight. With only a little over 3 weeks left until graduation, it's nice to be able to gather all together in the same space for one of the last times. As many of you know, I have been attending Tilton since my freshman year. Prior to coming to Tilton, I attended Holy Trinity Catholic School in Laconia. It is a very small school, which is made up of less than 100 students the year that I graduated, and my 8th grade class had only 12 students. With that being said, I spent every school day with the same 12 people. There were no classes with multiple grades in them, and even when it came to eating lunch, it was the same thing with the same kids day in and day out. I started at Holy Trinity in kindergarten, so my best friends were basically the same 5 or 6 people who I had been with for 9 years straight. In 8th grade, it was time to start thinking about high school. After being in private school for so long, I knew that trend was going to continue throughout high school. My friends were all going to attend Bishop Brady in Concord, so that's where I wanted to go for a really long time. As I made my way through 7th grade, I realized that not all students went from Holy Trinity to Bishop Brady, and that I had other options like Holderness, New Hampton, and Tilton. I applied to 4 high schools, and I toured them all. I knew from the moment that I stepped on the Tilton campus that this was where I wanted to be. I felt like a part of the community after a tour that only lasted 1 hour. I spent years and years imitating the actions of kids in my grade because that's what I thought that I had to do. So coming to Tilton was a big step because this was the first time that I was going to make a decision that would break me away from every single friend I had at Holy Trinity. When I started my freshman year at Tilton, my mindset was similar to that of my middle school self. I closely followed an unspoken standard that I just needed to do what everyone else was doing in order to succeed here. I had to keep my grades up and blend in well in order to live up to the expectations of this prep school that seemed huge to me at the time. I understood that my goal at Tilton was to impress the teachers and administrators, as well as excel in the same things that my new friends could achieve. I gained many different leadership positions right off the bat at Tilton, but I limited myself to only applying for the ones that my friends were pursuing. Mirroring my life before Tilton, I was what most people call a follower. Whoever my friends may have been at the time, I wanted to do everything exactly the same as they did. We ate lunch together, we spent free time together, we played sports together, and we even went home together most weekends. This sounds really great to most people, but of course that's only the good stuff. Spending an extended amount of time with the same people can always get ugly. What I didn't realize at the time is that I was associating myself with individuals who were unintentionally shaping me into someone who I'm not. Most importantly, I was more than okay with that. Ecstatic about it, actually. I was fitting in with the perfect crowd. I felt noticed, and that was the most important thing to me. What I didn't realize, though, is that the only person I was really impressing in this way was myself. I didn't care if I was treating my parents poorly when I got home from school. I didn't care if I was dismissive of my old friends, and I definitely didn't care what anyone had to say about it. I was happy, and leading a life following someone else's script brought me that happiness. Eventually, towards the end of my sophomore year, my attitude of trying to be cool instead of just being me landed me a front row seat in the Morse conference room right in front of Miss Popoff and the rest of the disciplinary committee. At this moment, I literally thought I was going to drop dead. I was scared and worried, knowing that everything I had worked so long and hard for at Tilton could be taken away in just about 2 seconds. And it was. I couldn't understand how I could let myself make such a careless, stupid, and tasteless mistake. I continuously asked myself, how did the person I truly am get so lost inside an alternate personality that it cost me nearly everything at this school that I took pride in? For a long time, I didn't know the answer. I spent a lot of time alone and a lot of time talking to the faculty members on campus who reassured me and stood by me through a really difficult time. I owe a really big thank you to Mr. Landrosh, Mrs. McCandless, and Miss Young for never judging me and always believing in the real me. As Mr. Landrosh once revealed to our entire English class, and as many of you know, I have a sensitive heart. So that made my consequences from the DC much harder on me as I dealt with them on a very personal and deep level, as I do many things. It was one of the lowest points in my life thus far, but a time when I realized that the most prominent person in my life is myself. When you feel like you have no one, you really do have someone. The most valuable words of advice, reassurance, and critique come from your own heart and mind. This realization turned my life around at Tilton, but also in every other aspect. I worked hard to reverse the repercussions from my wrongdoing and proved myself to my parents as well as many other people on campus that I felt like I had let down. My life was no longer about how many friends, followers, likes, or titles that I had. I began doing things that made me and only me happy. I set a standard for myself that nobody else had anything to do with, and instantly figured out that if you live up to your own expectations, you can far exceed everyone else's. I began being much more than the student, person, and friend that I have always aspired to be. I also concluded that I didn't need to have a bunch of friends to be happy, because it feels much better to spend time with one person and be myself than 10 people and feel contained. Looking back, although I was happy, I was finding that happiness in all the wrong places. By always looking for ways to improve and working on the real me, I can say that I am not just the happiest, but the truest form of Liv DeMatos that I have ever been. I have finally found a feeling of content and started doing everything for myself, because people come and go, move on and forget, but you will always remember the things that you did for yourself. The Tilton experience is going to be what you're going to make it. And while I thought I was here to impress people, everyone at this school is trying so hard to push you to reach your fullest potential. Though I will probably claim to have found myself 10 more times before I graduate college, I'm happy that I finally feel satisfied with where I'm at. As we all head off to college, we're all going to be faced with the challenge to conform to a new space with new people. I urge you all not to change who you are for anyone, and to work to feel comfortable in your own skin. You may have to make some changes along the way, but being susceptible to change makes room for growth. Whether you start today, next month, or next year, I encourage you all to start living your life for yourself. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker you've chosen for your 100 Days dinner is Jaden Thackston.
Our class is composed of a variety of unique people. When we look around us, we see people from California, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and from places around the world. Geography isn't the only thing that makes us different. We all have different views, passions, and personalities. At first glance, it might seem there isn't one thing we all have in common. However, the one similarity we will all have for the rest of our lives is that we went to Tilton. Tilton means something different to everyone. We all came here at different stages in our lives, but we have so many shared experiences from coming here. We will all have special memories from Tilton, some maybe from playing in your first powder keg, watching or acting in the musicals, having your first DC, or just being able to hang outside with your friends on the quad circled up near one of the fires. Even if COVID might have put a damper on the year, we were still able to create those new connections and memories in our final moments on the hill. As someone who has been here for 3 years, I've been able to look back on my memories and realize how much I've learned and grown from my time here and how much I've taken it for granted. Before I came to Tilton, I didn't really have a lot of close friends my age. I'd been to 8 other schools in 4 other states, and when I first came here, I was way more reserved, since it had been my 3rd high school I had been to and still didn't really have any connections with my teachers and classmates. When I look back at my time here, I always go back to my first memory. My first memory from Tilton was when my family dropped me off and I was all alone in my room thinking, how would I ever be able to make friends and how was I going to survive the whole school year? When I look back at that memory, it makes me think about how wrong I was for questioning my ability to last at Tilton. I think of all the other memories I've had here that just prove how wrong I was. I think about my 10th grade physics class that was full of some unique characters that I definitely won't forget. I also think about my time on the field hockey team and how I became so close with so many of my teammates and how some of my teammates who are now my closest friends and being able to have some of the most fun playing sports while losing every single game. I also think about all the hours I spent on the bus rides to hockey games that were just full of everyone screaming and laughing over each other, with the occasional silent bus rides if we played terribly. I think back on all those memories and see how much fun I really had here and how fast time has flown since my first day. And how my Tilton memories, big and small, will stay with me for a long time. I know that a lot of us are excited to leave Tilton and move on to the next chapter, but as we are in the final days till graduation, it's important to reflect back on those moments you had with your friends and your time of growth. We all might not be together physically, but we will have those shared unique moments together that no one else in the world will be able to have. Thank you.